Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Wednesday the 12th of June, and again today, as we did yesterday, we need to talk about Apple, because that move yesterday was massive. It took out and cancelled this bearish engulfing. And that's what happening sometimes, that the top and reversal pattern, or the reversal pattern indeed is being cancelled, and that's why we need to know when it is being cancelled, demolished and reversed. And that was when it moved back above the peak yesterday. There was a good chance of it, and mostly we work with closing prices. In this case, the closing price was much higher than the previous day's peak. So it was safe to say this we can learn from. Say, okay, if it moved really much higher than just trading around the peak from yesterday, then there's a great likelihood that it will also cancel and reverse that. That top and reversal pattern. So this is what happens sometimes. What also happened here is that the RSI actually did close above its falling trend line, upper falling trend line, and it also closed higher than the previous peak, meaning it has cancelled its divergence. There's now no divergence on the daily chart. There's also no divergence on the weekly chart, indicating likely higher levels on Apple. And how far? Well, now we are at our all-time highs anyway. So let's have a look how far we can move. We are above 200. But if we say this is the trading area the past year and a half or so, if that is being shifted upwards, well, then there's potential up to 235. Of course, when we are in uncharted territory, it's really hard to predict how far and how high can an instrument move, because there's really no upper limit. There's no resistance levels, at least. But I'm not saying Apple will go to the skies, but it is in a strong bullish trend that can take it to 220 to 25, maybe even 235 over the next medium term. To cancel all that, it needs to drop back below yesterday's close and also below the previous day's close. So that's a bit far away. But again, we never know. S&P 500, of course, also were lifted because of this. All the US indices, basically, despite the fact that quite a few of the Euro stocks, they were actually in negative territory yesterday. But S&P 500, new all-time high close, and we have 5,400 inside. We also have higher levels, 5,450, which is the 176.4 projection. Excuse me, of this little correction here. So we are in a bullish trend, and so far there's not really any divergence that is to talk about, so it looks fairly strong. Nasdaq also, no divergence on RSI, looking at 19,500. If it moves back below 18,900, well, then that uptrend has been demolished and put on pause. In European markets, not really much going on, at least on the Euro stocks. I mean, it was sold off, primarily pushed by the CAC 40. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But we are still above the cloud. We are still above 100 moving average, and they're still way above the 48.88 key support. But there seems to be some support here around 49.47. Around that level here that should be observed. So if we close below that, well, then we could see selling pressure. But RSI is in a positive sentiment, still supporting the, I wouldn't say bullish picture, but not yet the negative picture, at least, or bearish picture. So wait and see mode here, really. DAX, also to the weaker side, is still in a short-term negative trend, but RSI is still saying, well, we are in a positive sentiment despite showing divergence. There's imbalance, but if it takes out the peak here for a couple of days ago, 18,785, well, then we could see higher levels. Amsterdam Index AEX still holding on, still staying above 918 support level, minor support level, and I think we could put up a little bit of horizontal line, giving that a little bit more weight. Still potential up to 935, 940 if it takes out the peak of yesterday. And now we get to CAC 40 that got sold off really badly yesterday. That was a really bad sell-off. It closed the gap, closed below the gap area here. We are in a negative sentiment. Still trying to get back into the gap today. But over the next few days or weeks, I think we will see the bearish pressure continuing for CAC 40. It really needs to get back above 7,915 just to have any meaningful reversal. So keep an eye on that one. Next support is 77.24, 76.91. There's a minor gap down here that in this area we could see some support, but it could dip down to the 61.8 retracement, 7,652. Finally, on the SMI, we have bounced off the previous peak here. That is now support 12,046. We could crawl higher here in the next couple of days. If it does close below it, well, then we could see further selling hitting the market. Moving on to a euro dollar, where your dollar dipped to touch the 61.8 retracement and support just around 107.2025, bouncing today. It did close back in the cloud, and we're also trading still in the cloud here. So meaning we are still slightly bullish, and also the RSI did. It's with it's marginal below the 40 threshold, and when we're talking about the FX market, I would say, well, we are still holding on, taking out the lows from yesterday at 107.19. Then I think we'll see a sell-off down to 106.65. Euro sterling didn't do well. Sold off even more yesterday. It almost dipping to the 84 support level. And let's zoom out so we can actually see what's going on here. There we have it, 84 level. That is the key level. And if we dip down there, which I believe we will, then keep an eye on that level. And you can see over here why it's 84. But we could also sell off to 83.40 level, where there's a little bit stronger support. Cable crawling a little bit higher along this 21 moving average here. Could crawl a little bit higher, but a really strong resistance at 128, 18, 20 level. Yen pairs, dollar yen, still slowly crawling higher towards 157.70 and 158.5. I still believe we'll get up there in a couple of days. We have to remember though, FOMC rate decision tonight that could give some volatility both before and after. So brace for yourself there and keep your stops tight. And that's just a recommendation to always keep your stop in order. 168.25, some support you see tested a couple of times here. If it does break below again, I think we'll see a sell-off down to the 61.8 at 166.65, possibly dipping down to just below the cloud to the 786 retracement, but I don't think it will close down there. But let's see. Divergence on the RSI, but still bullish, positive sentiment, so a little bit undecided. Aussie yen, also crawling higher towards previous peaks. Will get there if our RSI close above 60? Then yes, I believe we'll get to test the previous peaks. Sterling yen very close to just a few cents from testing the 200.75 previous peak, and now a little bit of resistance. But RSI is in a positive sentiment despite having divergence. I think we could push higher towards 202.50. Aussie dollar, that bounced off the 65.80 support. I think it will bounce a little bit further here next couple of days, but if it takes out this level here, well, then there's potential down to around 65. Dollar Canada, that got rejected at the resistance and 786 retracement just around 137.85 90 level. Expect a little bit of a setback here the next couple of days, but we are in a bullish trend, and next break above that level here 137.90, I think we will see a push towards 138.5, 39. Euro-Swiss very close to testing the 96 key support, and the 200 moving average could dip below here, but we're below the cloud, we're below 100, everything is turning around. So the picture has really turned for Euro-Swiss, and looking at the weekly chart, we can see massive sell-off there, and I think we will remove this one and just add the corrective Fibonacci pattern and say, okay, where can it move to? Well, just around 50%, sorry, has taken back, so we can actually dip down to the 61.8, but let's see if it will be that bad. For dollar Swiss, rejected at 88.90, so expected to be range bound between 88.90 and 88.80. In this range here, I want to break out before I actually see some meaningful direction. The interesting thing is that RSI is still negative. There's a slight divergence. Yes, there's a slight divergence, indicating we could see a correction up to around 90.5, but I want to break of that. Finally, the dollar index got rejected yesterday, 105.38. Will it have another go, or will it slide back? It also depends on the 60 threshold, will it be broken or not. At the moment, it has been rejected. Moving on to gold, well, it's crawling slowly back above 23.14. It is not the strongest resistance, to be honest. But what is also interesting is that the RSI is still in a positive sentiment. If market moves higher above 23.50, well, then there's a good chance that we could get above 23.88. Read my analysis I did yesterday, published in writing. There's more details about gold and silver, and also the gold-silver ratio, but we'll touch upon if it takes out the peak from a couple of days ago at 23.88. Well, then we are back in a bullish trend. But for now, lower lows and lower highs, we are in a negative trend. Just need to be confirmed by a push below 40 on the RSI, and we're not there yet. Key support 22.77. Gold hovering around the 29, 30, 40, 50 level here. We are in a bearish trend. There is positive sentiment on the RSI, still hasn't broken below 40, but there's still potential down to our 28.50. If it moves back above $30 and close above there, well, then we could maybe see try and crawl back, but it also needs to get back above 31.55 for establishing a bullish trend. The gold-silver ratio here, keep an eye on it. We have a shoulder, head and shoulder, and the neckline is virtually flat. A close above, well, then there's a bottom and reversal pattern has been confirmed with potential up to at least 81.66, but there should be potential up to around 84, maybe a little bit higher, but in this region here. If it takes out the right shoulder on the downside at 75.63, well, then it's demolished, and that's the rule of shoulder patterns. The platinum, still believe it can dip to the 786 retracement and the 100 moving average and the cloud level, and then I believe we'll see a bounce. The RSI is a negative sentiment, so it is supporting further selling pressure, at least on the short term. The WTI, continuing testing the upper falling trend line here. They are not that strong, but it's more like a get line, but still 786 retracement at 78 78.80 I think will be tested, maybe even a little bit higher, but RSI still negative sentiment, so if it gets rejected at 60, I think WTI crude oil will slide back lower. We have the Brent also potential up to 786 at 83.25. Same picture really, it could slide back lower if it moves back below the 80 spot 75 level. Finally, let's talk a little bit about treasury yields. They are dropping a little bit ahead of the FOMC, testing the cloud level there. Still negative sentiment, so key will be, will it take out the lows here from last week at 427, or will it break higher towards 455? And very quickly, let's have a look at the 2-year treasury yield. Let's have a look at that, and we are also sliding back a little bit, but we are in this big or wide trading range here, so to speak. I think we'll slide back a little bit lower today, but it could be all changed tonight with the FOMC. But still, these are the levels to look out for at 466 and 5%. That's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.